What's up guys, it's Manga time once again. I'm here to bring you my review of Bleach 669, Yaiba 2. And I have to admit, when I opened the chapter, I was like, Yaiba 2? What the hell is Yaiba 1? And apparently Yaiba means blade. And blade was 577, I think, and that was when Kenpachi Zaraki, first revealed what Nozarashi looked like. So the fact that this is his Bankai chapter is, that's a nice little callback there. This is a very, very simple chapter. I don't reckon this review's going to be that long, by my normal standards anyway. This basically is just a fight. This chapter is basically just, here is Kenpachi's Bankai. You don't get to know what it's all about. You don't really get to know what this means, what it is, but look at it do cool shit, basically. That's pretty much the whole chapter. It's just a spectacle chapter. So it starts off with where we left off, with Kenpachi looking at his hand as it's like glowing, and Yachiru is like, oh, that power is Bankai. And Kenpachi looking very surprised. I went into this chapter expecting a flashback. I think maybe maybe to when he was fighting Unohana or something like that, and then we learn a little bit more about Nozarashi perhaps, or just something. I was really expecting there to be more exposition in this chapter. I thought Yachiru might fill us in a bit on what the hell's going on, but apparently not. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I feel like when you're reading this chapter, you just have to read it with the understanding that this is literally just going to be a fight. And it's very, very short as well. There are lots of big panels, lots of things like that. Anyway, so there's the chapter title, actually written in Japanese for very, very rarely that happens, so that's quite cool. There's an enormous, literally enormous explosion. And the captains and Gerard like, what the fuck? And then we get to see Kenpachi's Bankai, and I was like, because again, I wasn't expecting to see it this early. But I will say, I called it that it was going to be a small Bankai. It was so obvious that Kubo was going to parallel Ichigo and Yamamoto with Kenpachi's Bankai, because Ichigo and Kenpachi tend to get paralleled quite a lot. Not so much with Yama, although I feel like Yama and Kenpachi get paralleled a fair bit. But as it stands now, it's literally just Kenpachi on the ground, in the first of two pretty epic double-page spreads this week, which also doesn't help the chapter length. He's holding a shattered Nozarashi, and I have to admit, I went back to check the chapter title of the one where he summons Nozarashi for the first time. Nozarashi is absolutely massive in that chapter. Like, he's literally hoisted it on his shoulder, and it's like going back for miles. So it's funny how the size of Nozarashi has been altered to be a bit more realistic. Obviously, the most notable thing here is that Kenpachi's skin has changed colour. And according to Ikaku, who's watching the fight with Yumichiko, it's now red, which is really cool because he's basically the devil, which is actually cool, but it suits him quite well. But we'll get into that a bit in a minute. Ikaku and Yumichiko, like I said, they're kind of watching the fight now, and they're like, oh my god, did that just happen? Now, this is where things start to get a little bit disappointing. Gerard begins to take his trip down generic villain lane, where he starts devolving pretty quickly. He's like, oh, well, there was an increase in your Reiatsu, but as far as Bankais go, your transformation is pretty minimal. I am disappointed. And then he's like, that Mangle sword is a sorry excuse for a Bankai. In the end, you were simply fodder, Kenpachi Zaraki. I don't know why he says that. I don't know why he thinks that, because Kenpachi literally last week was the one giving him the best fight, so I don't know. You think he doesn't even say anything about Kenpachi having red skin. He's just literally like, your sword looks crap. And now this is where, I will say Kenpachi's Bankai looks freaking awesome, and the way Kubo draws it is masterful. Like, masterful. There are a couple of facial close-ups of Kenpachi in this chapter, and they are drawn to perfection. But I will say that Kubo's writing rears its head again. Seriously, it's just annoying, because Gerard's Hoffnung has essentially the perfect counter to anything Kenpachi tried to do. Even in his Berserker form, if Kenpachi tried to attack Gerard, Gerard could just block with his sword rather than his shield, because if his sword got smashed, you can assume that Kenpachi would still take massive damage. But no, in typical, what is now becoming typical Bleach fashion, Gerard puts his sword down and says, with your pathetic sword in shambles, it would be a waste to bring the grace of Hoffnung down upon you. He does that to Hitsugaya, even though he thinks Hitsugaya is a waste of time anyway. and he says, I'll smash you into oblivion with my fist, because Kenpachi won't be affected by the fist. If it was Hoffnung, Kenpachi would be fucked, but, whatever. We get to see Kenpachi be cool. The next page is just ridiculous. It's a really, really cool close-up of Kenpachi's face, and I have to admit, again, like I said, it is drawn so incredibly well. He looks demonic, evil, hellish. He basically is the devil. His skin is apparently bright, well, not necessarily bright red, but it is red, similar to how the zombies are, which maybe is Kubo kind of alluding to Kenpachi's undead theme, like most of Kenpachi's chapters and volumes have an undead theme going around them. But Kenpachi now has fucking horns coming out of his head, which is really cool. A marking which kind of looks like a third eye, but I think it's a marking there. He has markings going over his eyes, coming out of his face, and I think down his cheeks as well. But yeah, see, and he looks really, really cool. I'm not gonna lie, he does look super cool. For all you Kenpachi fans out there, I think Kubo did him pretty good here. So although the Bankai is not exactly grandiose, it is basically, it's very fitting. I think we're getting obvious parallels to make are Yoroichi's cat form, because they've both become kind of animalistic and just feral. However, this one is not only cooler, it's more in character. So yeah, Gerard tries to punch Kenpachi, to which Kenpachi fucking bites Gerard's hand and then proceeds to rip his arm off with just his mouth. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's an insane level of power. And can I just say that the power levels have gotten ridiculous. Gerard was taking on Bankai Byakuya, Bankai Hitsugaya, and Shikai Eye Patch Kenpachi, and didn't take a hit. So Kenpachi is now more powerful than all of those things combined. It's best not to think about it. But yeah, he rips off Gerard's entire arm, to which Gerard's like, fuck, as you know, would be. Kenpachi then spits his arm out, which is pretty badass, to be fair. But Gerard, he's like, you're a fool. I told you chopping my arms off will gain you nothing. And he starts to regenerate. But Kenpachi already jumps at him. And so Gerard finally decides to defend with something other than his hand. He tries to block him with his shield, but Kenpachi literally splits the shield in half and cuts Gerard in the face. Gerard's kind of like, oh, what the hell? This is not possible. My shield's been broken. We then get a cool picture of Kenpachi's face again. You get a better look at the horns. He literally is the devil. It's really cool. He goes flying at Gerard, and he basically like uppercuts Gerard and kind of basically throws him off the side of the Wahrwelt. What I will say is though, this is a bit weird. This bit because Gerard, I don't know why his arm is taking so long to regen. Even by the page after this, it still hasn't come back, which is weird because the last time it happened, he literally was just like, duh, and it came back straight away. So, oh, that was loud. So yeah, I don't know why. And also, this is also weird. Gerard put his sword into the building, and then Kenpachi has sent him flying, and yet suddenly he has his sword again, and he tries to hold on to the side of the building with it. So I don't know where that sword came from, especially since literally in the panel above he doesn't have it, but whatever. And can I also say that although it's a tiny panel, and I know that Gerard's hand is regenerating, but that is literally one of the worst looking panels I've ever seen of Gerard with his hand and grabbing his sword, because it just looks so bad. But anyway, he gets thrown off the side of Wahrwelt and hits a guy's like, oh my god, he's fallen over the edge. Even though Gerard doesn't even look that massive anymore when he's falling off the side. Like, Gerard's not even as big as like the place they're fighting on, so I really don't think he'd cause that much damage, to be honest with you. However, he then suddenly sprouts fucking wings, which I wasn't expecting, but that is quite cool. Especially since Gerard has proper angel wings, which do suit him. I don't think this is a Volstendig, though, because he doesn't have a halo. So yeah, he sprouts wings, and then here we go. The very typical drivel that Kubo is subjecting. I mean, like, what's Kubo's train of thought when he has Gerard say, ridiculous, impossible, ludicrous, inconceivable, for a mere Shinigami to be able to call to me like this? We've heard it like 6-7 times now from separate Quincy. I mean, does it not dawn on Kubo that all of his lines are the same? I mean, even when Gerard first sees Kenpachi's Bankai, he's like, oh, well, this is a disappointment. I kind of expected it to be, different than this. That's a line we've heard before as well. That one's not as bad. The whole Quincy going apeshit is getting really tiresome, though, I have to be honest. I just don't... Where are these Quincy getting these egos from, And why did we cut away from Urahara and Askin for this? But, whatever. So Gerard flies towards Kenpachi, looking actually fairly angelic. I think it's also partly the pose. But he's like got his sword out and he's just flying towards him with his massive angel wings, which do look cool. And his sword is doing something. It's like transforming, I think. I don't actually know. It's got a light around it. And I do have to say that the whole theming is very cool. Obviously, Gerard is an angel, Kenpachi's a demon, so we have angels versus demons. And I hope Kubo does more with that if this fight continues after this chapter, because that, that's a really cool theme. It could lend itself quite well visually. Kenpachi's then standing on what I guess is the side of the Wahrwelt. I don't actually know. But Gerard's like, not fleeing with your tail between your legs, that is the proof of your absolute peak of your foolishness. I don't know why, because Kenpachi's been owning him for the last 5 minutes or so I don't know why Gerard would be like that, but whatever. So Gerard, I don't know what he's about to do, but Kenpachi like pulls his arms back behind his head. It's kind of hard to see what Kenpachi really looks like because these scans are a bit muddy on the whole, shaded texture. But Kenpachi basically like spins around or something like that, and he does an enormous swipe, and we get the final page is a double page spread. Kenpachi with a really, really well drawn face. He looks so good. The face is so well drawn, and you can see the horns quite well here again. But he looks awesome as he basically cuts Gerard in half, making this like the third massive character that he's bifurcated in the series. Tesla, Giriko, Gerard. Though we've actually seen him cut them in half, because I think he also did the same to Jerome, but you don't really see that. So yeah, Gerard is split in half, and that's the end of the chapter. Is Gerard dead? That's got to be the first question, I think. I think he probably is. I think Kubo's been very uniform in the way he pans out his chapters. So I did envision this fight was going to end on 670, because that's just the way Kubo's been doing things now. He starts this fight. We don't start it, but he carries on this fight about halfway through the 660s, and then it would end on 670, because that's just what he's been doing. Or what he has done, occasionally in this arc. However, that would be way too easy. Far too easy. I feel like, and I'm not even joking, but it wouldn't surprise me if both of Gerard's halves regenerated and made 2 Gerards. That would not surprise me in the slightest if that happened. But I actually would kind of like this fight to carry on a little bit longer, because I want more exposition on this Bankai. What is it? Is it even a Bankai, or is this just the power of a Bankai? Or is it Kenpachi's innate power, his innate animalistic self? I don't really know. But it looks cool, which is kind of all we've got to go on at the moment. But yeah, it was a decent chapter. If you just if you just take it for what it is a pretty good chapter. The artwork is absolutely outstanding this week as well. Kenpachi just drawn so well. So yeah, I don't know if, for the first time ever in one of these fights, my gut is telling me that the bad guy might actually be dead. However, I think there's a good chance he could come back. I feel like that would be very anticlimactic for the heart of the Soul King to be taken out like that. But who knows? He might come back and then get owned again, and then the fight is over by the halfway point of the chapter or something like that. Another question is, where do we go after this fight? Is it Uryu versus Hashwolf? Is it Chan Ganju? Or, because, Pernida might not be dead, Lil definitely isn't dead, and Askian's death was, ambiguous. Could it be that the Schutzstaffel are gearing up for another round? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes, but I think we might have a little bit longer to wait, because this fight doesn't necessarily seem over to me, but it could quite easily be as well. So I'm going to give the chapter a 4 out of 5. I thought it was good. There was literally no content, really, but what content there was drawn phenomenally well. I like Kenpachi's Bankai, actually. It suits him a lot. The whole demon thing going on, it's very cool, with the red skin and everything. I'd love a colour page for this, but we haven't had a colour page in months. So, yeah. It was cool. I liked it. I'm not the biggest Kenpachi fan, but I did like it. I would like to know, why is Nozarashi in half? What is that symbolic of? And I just would like a bit more exposition, so we'll see. Gerard could go Volsundig for all we know. But let me know, guys, what you thought of the chapter in the comments below. Do you like Kenpachi's Bankai? That's probably got to be the biggest question. I think it'd be quite fitting if Kenpachi's Bankai remained unnamed, because that would be, an allusion to the fact that he never used to have a name, and neither did his sword. So that would be kind of a neat thing, but I imagine he will get a name for his Bankai. But yeah, do let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think Gerard is dead? Don't forget also to subscribe to the channel as well if you like the video. I would really appreciate the support. But until next time, guys, catch you later.